Hi guys, welcome to a new video. We're going to go through this as fast as we can. We're going to be creating the authentication entry point, implementing it, the authentication failure handler, and this class that I have opened here we're also going to be configuring. Okay, so let's begin right away. Let's go to the authentication entry point. If you can remember from the previous video, when we have the authentication filter, if something goes wrong in this method, it's going to be catched and going to be thrown another error, and this error is going to be catched right here in this authentication exception. Okay, so let me put this in one more, and here we're going to be needing an object mapper again. So we're going to do the same: private find object mapper, and then in the constructor again we're going to auto wire the constructor, so Spring can use the same mapper for all, and for all classes that we use. And this mapper we're just going to be assign it here. Okay, so this is the only attribute and field that we need right now. We have the response here, so we're going to be using HTTP service response, and we go to set the content type. As you can remember, we're going to be sending only application JSON type. So media type is application JSON value, and we're going to be sending the response status code, which is going to be set. Oh, it picks the request set status, and it's going to be the 401 because there was a problem with the authentication, so we are unauthorized. So we get the HTTP status dot unauthorized exception, and we're going to get the number, the integer number, so that value. Okay, so now we're going to be using the mapper to write to the response. So mapper dot write value, and you can use 5 different things. So we're going to be using a writer, and the writer you're going to get from the response get writer, and now the object, the JSON object that we're going to be writing. For this we're going to be using the error response class that I talked about in the previous video, and we're going to make an object with a message with an error code, and this error code is going to be authentication error, and the last one is the same status, HTTP status, that we just used. Okay, the message, you can put anything, but we're going to just say sorry, authentication was not possible. Okay, so that's it for the authentication entry point. So any exception that occurs in the authentication filter in the successful authentication method, I'm not sure if also in the unsuccessful, but any exception that occurs here is going to be catched here, and then this is going to throw authentication exception that the authentication entry point that's going to be catched. And this exception handling is also used by Spring for all other authentication exceptions. Okay, so let's go and implement now the authentication failure handler. This failure handler is going to be called anytime that inception happens in the method attempt authentication, and is of course of type authentication exception. So if it's not of that type, if it's not extended from this type, it's not going to be catched here. Okay, it's probably going to be catched by the entry point. Okay, so let's begin. So we're going to begin almost exactly as the authentication entry point. First thing we have to do is set the component. I think I set the authentication entry point component. No, I didn't. So, see, you have to remember to set the component here, so Springboot can work with it. And here we're also going to be using logging again, so just add this class. Oh no, not here, sorry. In the authentication failure handler, add this class. Okay, so let's begin. Let's first of all use a try and catch, and just like in the authentication filter, we're going to be printing these directories, logging the error, and get message only. And we're going to throw again a new authentication service exception with no message, because this message is going to get overridden by the message that is here anyways. Okay, so let's try and set the status and the content type again of the response here. So set content type media type dot no media type dot application JSON value again, and here we're going to be using if and else statement, and we're going to be check if the exception is of instance that credential exception, then we're going to send another message, but we're going to put the response set status to the HTTP status unauthorized again, that value. And we're going to use the mapper to write again to the response. So dot, oh, we didn't, oh yeah, we also need a mapper here. So let's use the mapper, the object mapper, and then just like the other ones, create a constructor. First auto-hire it, and then create the constructor FailureHandler with the object mapper, and then initialize it here is mapper, and then this mapper we're going to be using here. So this mapper, and go to write value, and then again get the response writer, and again using the error response class that is going to be serialized as an object, a JSON object, with all these attributes that we're putting here. So with a message, with the error code again, and this is not going to be, oh yeah, it's going to be authentication, yeah, because it's an authentication error, and the same thing as okay, status that's unauthorized, and this message is going to be invalid username or password. So whenever there's a bad credential exception, you send a message that there's invalid username or invalid password, and this happens every time that maybe the username is not correct or the password doesn't match, etc, etc. Okay, and this is also thrown here, I think, the authentication filter here. So everything that happens here, if there's if there's an error here, is going to be throwing a bad credential exception. Okay, the next exception is this one right here also, that we're going to be handling. So else if E is instance of auth already authentication exception, then we're going to send the response and set the status to a forbidden one. So HTTP status status HTTP wait status yes HTTP status yes on and forbidden that value, so that will get you that you're forbidden to authenticate again because you're already authenticated. Okay, and we're going to use the mapper again to write the value, just basic stuff again. The response that get writer, and again hidden object with a different message this time with different error codes also, and we're going to be using the error code that already authenticated, and here HTTP status of forbidden, forbidden, and here we're going to just say you're already authenticated. So authentic logout and then authenticate again. Logout first. Okay. So that's the authentication failure handler. For now we only have two types of exceptions that we're catching, and if there's an exception happening in this code, then it's going to be catched and it's going to be thrown. A new authentication service exception is going to be thrown, and the authentication entry point is going to catch it. So right now we only have two with the bad credentials and the already authenticated exception that is used here. But if you have other exceptions, you can also make another else if statement and check it here and handle it here. Okay, so we're done with this. Now we're going to be moving on to the JWT security config, and we're going to be linking all the filters, all the handlers, everything that we did right now in the configuration. So in a simple say, we're going to configure everything to work together. Okay, so let's begin with auto-wiring the fields that we need. First one is going to be the JWT properties, and this is going to be used so we can clear the cookie by using the name when we log out. The next one is going to be the custom user detail service that we used and that we created. If I see an error here, it's because we didn't annotate it with that component. Yes, that's right. And this has to be authenticated as add component, or better, because it's a service, we just put service here. Move this import and then close this one, then go back to the config file, and then the error is gone. So auto-wires is private. There's another one that we're going to be using is the AuthenticationEntryPoint. Another one is the filter itself, authentication filter. Authentication filter. No, it's the JWT authentication filter. Okay, and that's it for now. Later on, we will add the JWT validation filter, and that filter is the one that's going to check if there's already a cookie being sent with a token. Okay, so now we're going to overwrite some method that we need. The first one, and I think the only one, No, it's the first one. We're going to be overriding the configure method. We're going to be linking the custom user details so Spring can use it. So we're going to use the object out here, the parameter, and we're going to set the user details, which is the custom user detail service, and with the password encoder bcrypt. Why? Because when we initialize data here, we used a bcrypt password encoder. So this is the encoder that this custom user detail is going to be using. It's not the custom user details, I think it is going to be using it, but the authentication manager is going to be handling the matching and the comparing of the passwords that sent and the one that is in the database. Okay, so that's it for linking this custom user details. Now the last method that we're going to override is the HTTP, the configure but for HTTP security. And here we're going to configure Spring in its entirety. Okay, so let's begin with adding the session management, which is going to be, of course, session creation policy, which is going to be, of course, stateless. So session creation policy is stateless because JWT token is stateless. Then we're going to proceed. Let me do that one with an end, and then we're going to be authorizing the request. Then any request is authorized for now, and then we're going to authenticate any request. Okay, then we're going to be linking and configuring the exception handling, which uses the authentication entry point that we made. So this JWT authentication entry point class with another end for the next thing that we're going to be configuring, which is the logout. And with the logout, we're going to be deleting the cookies. And the cookie name that we need to delete is the one that is configured and set in this value. The other one is a logout success handler for REST services, and which we are going to be playing with is only going to be handling JSON data, so no redirection and anything like that. So we have to put in logout success handler, otherwise Spring will use the default one, and it will I think it will go and redirect to the login page or to the home page, which we don't have actually. So in order to avoid that, we're going to just use the HTTPS status return logout, and we just need a status here. So if everything is okay, we're going to just return status dot okay, which is a 200 error, 200 success message. And the last thing we're going to be doing is adding the filter themselves. And the filter that we're going to be adding right now is the authentication filter. Later on, we're going to be using another filter, and that this is a filter that's going to check if the cookie is already there, and then setting the security context. So if everything is okay with the cookie, so the user is authenticated. Okay, so that's it for now. I think with this configuration we can already run the project, and the project can generate the token for us. So I'm going to be using Postman for this. Let's go to Postman. Let's first build this project. See if everything is okay. Building, still building. And yes, that's it. Okay, so let me just make sure that this is commented out. Yes, it's commented out because it's not used anywhere. So let's run it and see what happens. First, let's run it. Wait for it to load. Okay, everything started successfully. Now we're going to be using Postman, and I already have it set up here. So my instance is running on localhost port 8080, and the way to authenticate and try to log in is to go to the login. So this endpoint is automatically created by Spring Security, and we're just going to be using it, and a post method is required here. So we're going to post the login with a body of a username and password. And oh no, wait, we still have to do one other thing, and that is the Csr Protection. And for that one we have to create a cookie repository. So we're going to create a cookie Csr token repository that is already built in Spring. And then this cookie, we're going to set the cookie path, and that is just the domain. So remember, if you put the cookie path here, it has to be the same as the authentication filter that you have here. So this is the same thing, okay? Let's go back to the configuration, and then this cookie Csr token repository, we're going to add it here. So Csr token repository, and the one that we just created. Remember to add end. Okay, so let's run it again. And now it runs again successfully. And then now we're going to be using Postman to do it. So the first header that we need is for the Csr token, and this header has to be the same, so the key has to be the same. So because we're using this type of cookie Csr token repository, and this repository is expecting a header with this name as key and the value of the Csr token. And we're going to set this is automatically set by Postman when you're sending JSON data. Okay, so we're going to try it now, see what happens. And as you can see, it was authenticated. So we got the 200 OK method here, and voila, we have here the JWT token. We can verify that every information we put here is correct, and that we can check it with not that one, close. We can check with just Google. We can decode it, and then enter token here, and you can see the information that we put is correct. So we use an algorithm of HS512 with the subject is user, so the username, which is this exactly as this username that we used here, and the roles, as you can remember that the user has 2 roles, so all the roles that we insert in the database. And this is a claim, and this is a subject. and here you have the same signature. Okay, so that's working perfectly. In the next video, this was it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be implementing the filter, the validation filter. That's going to be checking if a cookie is already sent and authenticate the user with that cookie instead of going to go to this authentication filter again. Okay, and this authentication filter is only run when you access this URL here, so login. You can change the default, that doesn't have to be login. Okay, so I will see you in the next video.